Hey Explorers, and welcome back to Pip Explores. This week we're talking about how much food you should take on trail. So a few weeks ago I made this video about how you eat on trail, but the next logical step to that is, well, how much food do I take? And this is actually a thing that a lot of beginning backpackers struggle with because they take too much food. Not having enough food to eat is one of the basic human fears, and we tend to pack our fears. So it's only logical that when you're just starting out, you're probably going to take too much food. So in this video, I want to kind of explain some things that you can do to help mitigate that. Now, granted, it's your life. You can always take as much food or as little food as you want to do. These are just my tips to maybe not overpack on food. I would also say practice makes perfect. So before going out on a long, big excursion, do some simple one-night backpacking trips and see how you do on your food. The more often you try it out, the more comfortable you're going to be and the less likely you are to overpack your food. So let's dive into what I do when I'm going. Now keep in mind, I'm a planner. Some people might say that I overplan, Rebecca. But this is what I do to make sure I have enough food but not too much. The first thing that I would suggest is know how much you eat regularly. If you know that you regularly consume about 3,000 calories a day, you don't want to only take 1,000 calories a day for the trail. You also don't want to take 8,000 calories a day for the trail. So having a good baseline on what you eat in your regular life is a good starting point. And keep in mind that hiker hunger, while it is a very real thing, it's not really going to kick in if you're only doing overnight or weekend backpacking trips. Just a couple of days is not enough hiking to trigger the hiker hunger in your body. So eating about the same amount of food as you would regularly, or just a little bit more, like planning for that, it's going to be fine. The next thing I would suggest is that you count the calories that you're packing. Now, we're not on a diet here, but we do need to be aware of how much food we're packing. And it's really easy to just throw like a whole box of Cliff Bars in your bag and be like, yeah, I'll have one a day, without thinking about the fact that that is an extremely dense food and you're probably not going to be that hungry for that many of those. So count your calories by day. A good rule of thumb for how much you should take is, how much do you eat regularly? This does not have to be a big, complicated process with weighing yourself or anything like that. Look at the nutrition labels, add them up, make it approximately what you eat now, if not just a little bit more. Again, the issue most people have is that they overpack on their food. If you are like me and you eat about 2,000 calories a day, you don't need to take 5,000 calories a day on trail. You probably need about 2,000. You might want to push it to 2,500 just to give yourself some, hiker hunger wiggle room. But just for a few days, you're going to be fine. And the last thing I would suggest you do is confront your fear about being hungry on the trail. Like I said at the top of this video, hunger is one of those innate fears. I think everybody is afraid of not having enough food and being hungry. But be aware of that when you're packing. You don't have to give in to every fear that you have. You don't have to overpack your food. And if you're aware that that is a thing that's eating at you, see what I did there? It's going to be easier to overcome. Also, keep in mind that if you're doing just a weekend or a couple day backpacking trip and you mess up and you don't bring enough food, you're still going to be okay. You're going to be out in the woods for maybe 2 or 3 days, and then you're going to come back to civilization where you can gorge yourself on Mexican food. You have a lot of wiggle room before your food situation is going to become absolutely dire. And humans are pretty resilient. So even if by some random happenstance you don't have enough food, you're probably still going to be okay. Also keep in mind that if you're hiking with other people, they probably have extra food that they could loan you. Another way that you can kind of confront your fear about hunger is make sure you're familiar with how you're eating. If you are planning on eating mostly those freeze-dried backpacking meals, either ones that you bought or ones that you made, be familiar with them. Know how to cook. Know how full you get. Practice eating them. Practice making them. because the more familiar you are with your cooking and eating setup, the more comfortable you're going to be packing less. Now, I hope these tips were helpful to help you pare down maybe from that 10,000 calorie a day diet to something way more reasonable for what you're doing. I hope that you guys have a fun time on whatever backpacking trip you're planning. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, all at Piff Explores. Don't forget to check out the website, piffexplores.com, and we will see you next week. Bye.